Hello, everybody. Good day. I'm Sean for How to RPG. This is Streaming with Sean, Saturdays with Sean, where I talk about tabletop role-playing games, things of that nature, what's going on. You just pop over to Discord. Make sure I start this. Hey, Jacobane. Roger, good to see you. Thanks for getting up early wherever you are, or getting up, rolling over. Goliath, good to see you. Oh my goodness, I have a cat thing down below by my feet. Why all of a sudden is my lighting off? Seems my lighting is off. No? Maybe a little bit? Strange. No worries. Got a few things on the docket today I want to talk about. 1,000-year-old vampire. I got a question in the Discord I want to field. There's Cortex Prime's new license and the Twilight 2000 GM screen. So, what's up, Grey Lurk? So I think I'll start out with yesterday. Okay, so I picked up the Twilight 2000 Kickstarter, went in on that, got the box set. It's great. Was reading one of the books. It's actually right behind me on that table. And I had heard that it's a bit on the crunchy side for role-playing games. And I'll define that. You know, when you're shooting, there's a lot of factors that you take into consideration for shooting. Muzzle flashes, range, of course, cover, probably the rate of fire, maybe with weapons. I'm not quite sure. So somebody said, hey, it's a bit on the crunchy side. I'm like, no big deal, right? I'm a military guy. What's up, Eric? I'm a military guy. I think I'll like the game, and Free League puts out some top-notch stuff. So production quality is great. Long story short, I figure I might want to get a GM screen. I'm not a fan. How do I put this? I don't get caught up with the GM screen between the players and GM. I don't think it's that big a deal. If you find it as a barrier between the two when you're playing face-to-face, totally understand it. Prefer not to use it. Super fine. Dandy. No problem. I get it. Most of the times, I don't even think about that component of GM screens. Many times I literally want it as a reference piece, because if I can get it from, a 3 or 4 panel screen, and I don't have to page through a book, and it's got the, conditions and things of that nature, super. So I'm thinking for Twilight 2000, if it's as crunchy as it is to play and run, then it might be a valuable purchase. So that's what I did. So I went out and bought it. Actually ordered it because it wasn't out. I couldn't find it at Noble Knight. I didn't want to order it from Free League or Modifius. Shipping is crazy expensive. I think it was for this Twilight 2000 GM screen where they were going to charge me $16 for shipping. And I believe that's in the US. And I'm like, that's just not right. Some of this inflation shortage bullshit, I'm wondering if, it's the problem with inflation. Not that I'm an economist, but I think there's a component of panic that sets in with inflation, right? So everybody raises their prices, and now I better raise my prices. And it may not even be based on anything, right? Our cost of goods may not go up, but I got to just be safe regardless. Send it USPS. I don't think their rates have changed. So I bought it. Here it is right here. And I just opened it for the first time. It's just a GM screen. So, there's no scenario that comes with a lot of them. It's pretty hard. Like most of them are nowadays. They're not the, remember the old GM screens from advanced D&D days when it's like basically on tag board, not even tag board, like construction paper, laminated maybe. All right, let's see. 3. It's a 3 panel. Horizontal. Right? This is how I should run my virtual games. Sure you want to do that? You are rolling down the street and you see... So I'm looking at it right now. This would actually sit really well on my desk, right in front of me. See, like you don't even see it, and it's right in front of me. The camera angle, right? Lighting could use a little help because the light I have in front of me is casting a shadowing on some of the text. But let's see. So we got ranged fire modifier. So it's all tables. There's no real imagery. It's literally table after table after table. So it's as if Sean would have created it himself. Alternating cells. Let's see if I could probably do something like this. So not bad. I like it because this game's got, so here's some of the things that it references. And the reason I want to point these out is because it'll show the details of some of the things you're going to need to know in the game as a GM. So range fire modifiers. Okay. And there's a factor and a modifier. There must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 24 cells or rows. Close combat modifiers, slow actions. There's about 10 or 12 of those, probably 15 actually. Free actions, and then terrain types. Then you have a table of fast actions, which is a little bit more than the slow actions. So that's probably a good 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. About 24 fast actions, give or take. Typical barriers, weather and darkness, ambushing, component damage, critical injury, torso. Those are all separate tables. Lots of combat. But what do you expect in Twilight 2000, right? This is all this is combat related, right? These are all factors that are going to come into play when you build your die pool. So if you're not familiar with Twilight 2000, I won't go into a huge review of it if you haven't looked into it. So Twilight 2000 is the World War III essentially game that it's set in Sweden. Free League often sets some of their modern games in Sweden because that's where they're based off. So Tales from the Loop, Tales from the Flood. And then they also have an alternate location typically. So Tales from the Loop, they have it in Colorado and Sweden. And then Twilight 2000, they have it in Sweden and Poland. Imagine the year's 2000, right? And nuclear strikes happen, whatever. So it's a game of survival, and you can play military personnel that were there and operating in the theater of your choice, whether it be Sweden or Poland, and I'm sure it could be anywhere else in Europe. One thing I haven't heard of is somebody doing it maybe in the United States or some other parts of the world that's maybe not in the default setting. Excuse me. And you could play civilians, or you could play opposing military members. Maybe you were part of the Russian military or what have you. Regardless, the Year Zero engine, my familiarity with it is typically around Forbidden Lands and a little bit of Tales from the Loop. Usually what happens is you have a set 4 abilities, right? And then those abilities have a score, 1 to 6, and those represent dice, the amount of dice you get. So it's a die pool system. So if you have an ability, say empathy, your empathy is going to have 2. If you do anything empathy based, you get 2 dice. You have skills, and then those skills may typically apply to an ability. And then you might have gear, and that may have a rating. So in Forbidden Lands, it's all die 6. In Twilight 2000, same mentality. The only difference is it's more of a die chain type. So they go A, B, C, D, F. So when you get empathy or strength, or agility. I can't remember the fourth one. Those are based on an A rating, a B rating, a C rating, a D rating, or an F rating. Each one of those A, B, C, D, F correspond with the die type. So die 6, I think it starts with die 8, die 10, die 12. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. It's still a die pool. Well, no, it's not a die pool. You would roll what, and same with skills, right? A, B, C, D, F. And then you roll those dice. So it's not necessarily die pool as it is like Tales from the Loop or Forbidden Lands, as much as it is, a die type for your ability, a die type for your skill, and then you roll. And I think the target number is still 6, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the common. I'd have to double check. So in Tales from the Loop, I believe, and Forbidden Lands for sure, if you roll a 6 on any of your dice, then it is a success. Anything else is a failure. You do have the ability to push. If you push, you roll everything outside of a die of a success. Or you probably wouldn't push if you succeeded. But if you didn't roll a 6 on any of the dice, you could push. And then what happens in those other systems is if you roll a 1, they come into place. Twilight 2000, a little bit different, using the different die types. Just going over some of the GM screen. And I got to say, looking at some of this, so having said that, because it's, a military-based game, it's not the only thing that you will do. It's a survival-based game, really. And so you're kind of trying to just survive day to day. You run into warlords, civilians. You have, supply issues, right? You want to be able to eat and drink and live. So those resources come into play. But obviously not majority, but the combat system is, got some of these modifiers that are involved. So, for example, in ranged fire modifiers, you have, target prone. It's a -1 modifier. You have typical barriers, concrete wall, brick wall, indoor wall. Those have armor levels. You have slow actions, free actions, and then you have terrain types. So visibility comes into place. If you say, for example, forest, your visibility is 3, your range attack is a -1, your movement is a -2, cover is yes. So this thing's going to come in handy if you play from a virtual tabletop, and this comes with it. I don't know if the Foundry module does, I'm not sure. But if it's got the tables, you can actually implement the GM screen for Foundry. It's a module. It's a Foundry module. You install it, then you could put tables into that GM screen. So you can kind of make your own within Foundry if it's not supplied, which I doubt the GM screen is in a Foundry situation. But yeah, I'm liking what I see because there's quite a bit of stuff here. Like heavy weapons fire, deviation, right? Explosions. So yeah, there it is in its beauty. Simplistic in its presentation. Weather and darkness, ambushing. So some of this has to do with straight up combat. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to shoot Sean. What do I need to do? And then there are some things like ambushing. There's a recon modifier. So you're going to deal with recon. Is the action economy criticals. It's got torso, head, legs, and arm critical charts. So you roll a D10 on those. So if you get hit, say in the arm, it ranges anything from dislocated shoulder all the way to severed arm. Then there's a lethal rating, or whether it's lethal or not, the time limit, and then the effects, and then the heal time, which is pretty standard with Forbidden Lands for sure. It's the same type of format. So if you roll a critical injury, there's always, what is it that's affected? Is it lethal or not? And then how long of time do you have? And then the effects. So within a severed arm, it says two-handed weapons cannot be used. Heal time permanent. And with the heal time, it's usually a D6 that's involved. So there's a little bit of the Twilight 2000 GM screen. I just figured I'd show that off. So went to the store to pick this up. Say, hey, I'm here to pick up my Twilight 2000 GM screen, which I think are now available in FLGSs. They're not available on Noble Knight. I just checked this morning, but I'm sure they're going to get one in probably soon enough. And I was looking over the FLGS's selection of books, and with the pandemic, I haven't gone into a game store. I think I've been into a game store maybe in the last almost 2 years, 4 times maybe. And this one is not Noble Knight. Noble Knight's local to me. So, hey, what do I want? I got an inventory. You pretty much ask for it. And so I'm usually with the smaller size RPG store selection, usually it's going to default to Star Wars, Pathfinder, D&D, maybe something that might be hot or maybe only requires one book, like DCC, what have you. I was looking through, and every once in a while they'll carry some small press stuff. And I came across this beaut. So this is 1,000-year-old vampire. Now, God bless America, man. Get on there, and now I got to cough and clear my throat. Probably doesn't help based on what I'm drinking. And I thought, well, actually, the first thing I saw was the spine, right? Sitting on the shelf. I'm like, what is that thing? And I pulled it off the shelf, and lo and behold, it's a 1,000-year-old vampire. Now, a friend of mine by the name of Steve, wouldn't say I got him back into role-playing games, but when I worked with him, God, it's been a long time now. Say, hey, man, you got to role play. And now he's running games for his neighborhood and stuff. And he's texted me not too long ago and said, hey, I'm really into 1,000-year-old vampire. Have you heard of it? And I said, no, I haven't. It's like solo RPG. And he's like, I'm really digging it. Steve's a really creative guy. So that's his background. Like, he went to the university in creative, right? Graphic arts, print, web, the whole shebang. Learn how to design your own fonts, understand the elements of design, specifically probably to medium, right? It's not fashion design necessarily. And he's really good. I respect Steve highly for his talents and skills. And so when he takes an interest in something, it piques my curiosity to understand why. Because we've also had talks about role-playing games and, what he prefers, what he doesn't prefer. And so I'm like, it's been in the back of my mind. I've heard about it. It won an ENnie in 2000, but I never picked it up. And I'm not a vampire guy, right? I never played Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not a big White Wolf guy. I've played one White Wolf game, and that was run by Brett. And it was Wraith. It was a Wraith game, which I heard is different than all the rest of the different as in pretty depressing. Like, there's some themes within Wraith that are just not the same as Vampire or Hunter or Mage or whatever. Regardless, when I picked this thing up, I'm like, holy cow. It's got the gold fleck. You could kind of see how that reflects. I mean, this thing is, it's got a ribbon in it, 2 ribbons. Now that I'm looking at it, it's a 153 pages. And the back reads, A creaking hunter among dust and cobwebs, you prowl the night places, seeking the souls on which you feed. You've done this since time immemorial, or so you believe. You have no memories of living as a man thing like those you catch and eat, but human traces linger. Your fingers trace clever arabesques. My God, my vocabulary has just increased. In the dirt of your grave place, and with the flourishes come whispered songs in a language you've forgotten. Far away in a museum hangs your portrait in oil by a master 500 years dead. You might have been lovers, but the diary you kept then is long lost. 1,000-Year-Old Vampire is an introspective, emotional, and sometimes frightening role-playing game built for lonely solo play across a few hours or many weeks, intended for mature players. And I thought, man, for production quality, so the pages are glossy. They're not just paper. It's not just paper. That sounds ridiculous. But they have a gloss to them, but it's not high gloss. It's almost like semi-gloss. So it's not overly shiny. Yeah, this isn't gonna do it justice on the stream, but and the reason I can move it around, like you don't see the glare come off of it. A little bit right there, see? But it's not, there's some that are just over the top glossy. I would say this is similar to maybe a D&D 5e, a little heavier card harder, heavier paper. And I'm just starting to read it. And I'll tell you what, man, this thing is, this is a work of art, I would think. It kind of, for an independently published game to go this route, and I imagine that, they're not doing probably 10,000 copy print runs. So if you appreciate, here's the ribbons that fell out. If you appreciate the look and feel of a role-playing game, I would highly suggest picking this up. It looks like something that you would have, like, the old classics, right, on the bookshelf with the spine, Charles Dickens novels and things of that nature. Poe, whatever, floats your boat. So I'm starting to get into it a little bit. There's skills and experiences and memories. I think memories and experiences are at the core. There's so many memories that go with an experience, something along those lines. I might have that backwards. I'm not going to go into all the rules of this thing, but there are prompts throughout, right? So I'll give you an example. Number 10, the stars pinwheel above you in the night. The seasons are a blur. You are an automaton, unconscious of the passage of decades. A century passes. Strike out a memory. Strike out all mortal characters. So as you document, right, a lot of these solo plays are a lot of journaling and documenting. And as you go through this, there are going to be prompts like that where it'll say strike out memories or strike out experiences. And the reason that is because you've been alive, quote unquote alive, for so long that you forget some of the details of your past. Okay, so something that you write down and you strike that. But I think at the end of this thing, I don't know if I'll actually play it. I might do it as like chapters. Maybe I'll just do 5-10 minutes over a period of time. We'll see. But I was fairly impressed with just how this thing is laid out, and it has me intrigued. It has, even on the inside, like, on the inside cover here, can maybe make it up in the corner, right up here. Looks like it's handwritten, $125 set, 24 volumes. So it looks like it was kind of even almost annotated in parts of it. You know, here's a stamp. You're not going to be able to see this right down here in the corner where it says Santa Clara County Free Library. So you could use this. You could write right in this book, or you can get just something else to use this and then write outside of it. As a matter of fact, if you have the audacity to write in this book, you can go ahead and do that. But 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, I might do something a little more in depth about that RPG, but I wanted to show it off because I was, like I said, fairly impressed with the layout and things of that nature. Phil, good to see you, man. Swiefer, Dorigo, morning. Michael, morning. Radelk. So those things were just what I wanted to open with, and I'll have links down below to where you can grab a copy. Tim Hutchings is the one that did 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, and then Twilight 2000s by Free League. So I think many of the people that I know that got into the Twilight 2000 game Kickstarter is, I think, like Aaron Railio is a local buddy of mine here who just got his copy. So yeah, Radelk, if you have those few people that did a video on their sessions, you want to drop it in the chat by all means. Eric Frankhouse, good to see you, man. Fantastic game and actually getting ready to stream it. Oh, fantastic, man. I did do a Time to Kill video on the channel here, which is a solo RPG. I could tell you this. Like, I thought, well, is that based on some of the rule components that might have come from 1,000-Year-Old Vampire? I gotta say, not even close, right? A Time to Kill, if you don't know about that game, use a 52 deck of cards and a D6. Like, you can modify that engine for almost anything that's out there, right? So Time to Kill, you play an assassin, a hitman, and you're sitting somewhere in a lobby kind of waiting for your target to arrive. And as you're sitting there, you're waiting, and thoughts are entering your head, and you're flashing back to previous jobs, and you're documenting those down. I did an actual play here on this channel if you're interested in taking a look at that. It's very simplistic mechanics. Like I said, very adaptable to different genre, right? So you could be, maybe it's not a hitman, maybe you're, I don't know, an adventurer going on, like maybe you're a paladin or a knight templar going en route to a crusade. And then the four suits because the suits of the cards, one suit is like what's happening currently and presently. One suit is what happened in the past. One suit is about your target. I can't remember what the fourth suit is. But you could easily adapt that. And then, of course, each card in the suits have a prompt within the book. And the book for A Time to Die is, I don't know if it's even 10 pages, right? It's probably like a page spread for each suit, a few for the intro. So not too in depth. This thing is a beast, comparatively speaking. So, yeah, there's that. Did you all swap from Twitch to YouTube? Yeah, yes, we did, Eric. And he's gonna be like, why? I don't know. I think there's more headroom on YouTube. A lot of people moving to YouTube. Not a lot of people. Some heavy hitters moving to YouTube. Twitch has got problems. I don't know when the last time Twitch released something and everybody was like, yay, they finally did this. So I just took a jump and a leap and went to YouTube. Right or wrong, I don't know. Some people are like, why not do both? I know Hobbs does both. And I'm like, yeah, but then you can't focus in on one. and you alienate the other. What's up, Laramie? So Eric's asking because we used to stream on Twitch. And then I said, we're going to move to YouTube. So we're losing, I don't know, some money because we're not monetized on YouTube yet. Twitch does have some good things for streaming, right? Bits and things like that, and subscribers based. So that if you hit affiliate and somebody subscribes to your channel for a set dollar amount, right? There's that. We on Gaming and BS and How to RPG aren't at the level yet to monetize, but we'll get there. And then monetization is usually based on advertising that YouTube sells. But eventually, you can get to a level where people can kick in, kind of tiers and subscriber levels. And then Eric says there is no repairs or growth on their platform, right? So they have a big discoverability issue. Twitch does. Like if you're not on there and people don't go there to see you, like direct, your chances of people just tripping across you are pretty low. And I think, and YouTube it's kind of unique because I think you can carve your own niche, and so you can get your followers or your tribe to like you guys are here right now. Going off on the Twitch and YouTube thing, but bear with me. You guys will come here, great, thank you. And then if this were comparatively speaking Twitch and YouTube, that'd be it. Every once in a while, somebody might come across, I don't know, a tweet. Somebody might have been referred, but it's very low. So the chances of somebody just tripping across this and then going, hey, I saw this one video where this guy was just talking about a 1,000-year-old vampire. I decided to subscribe. Now I get notifications, or because I watched one of his videos, every once in a while, put that in front of me to check out another one. Never going to see that on Twitch. Well, I shouldn't say never. Currently, you can't. So Twitch's innovations, like Eric mentioned, is like it's pretty minimal, right? They've got a format. I don't think they want to put a ton of money into it. They're doing what they think works, and it takes a lot to make any good money on that platform. YouTube is not easy to produce videos and become, I guess, popular and grow. But I think the likelihood is if you put in the work. So here's another thing with Twitch. The only time you make money on Twitch is when you're streaming. I don't know about you. I would like maybe some passive. Put out a video and it's out there forever on YouTube, ideally. I can get monetized, somebody watches the video, and we have enough subscribers and it becomes big enough. Yeah, I want to still continue to put out videos, but I don't, that's the trade-off, right? And the YouTube and the people that are on Twitch that have big audience, Tim the Tatman's a big one. Some of you guys may not be familiar with, but we're talking like millions of, top 20 Twitch people that are making 6 figures or more are moving to YouTube because they can do more on YouTube. Twitch is a big video game streaming platform. So, what else do I want to talk about today? Let's go to, I want to go to General Game Talk. Talon Victus. I don't know if I can make this bigger. Can I zoom? Are you going to allow me to zoom? There we go. All right, here we go. Talon Victus posted this today at 4:30. So either he or she is either a real early riser or somewhere else, in a different country time zone. This may be, I don't want to say easy, but pretty straightforward. So I'll read it out loud here. I'm looking for some seasoned advice, which I just love when people are like, "Hey, I got a question. I got to ask you guys." And he's asking the community, right? Not guys as in Brett and I. But I'm sure you all have talked about this before somewhere, but this is what's going on. I was invited last fall to play in a 5e game by a work friend and with his friends. They welcomed me in. I made a level 8 character. Yay! But I work shift work and literally can only make it every other time they play. The GM was cool about it, worked it out and such. Now this. I got a message from my work friend while I was at work asking me how I felt about my character. See where this is going? Hey man, I got a question for you. How do you feel about your character? How do you? I don't know. Good. Why? So, it continues. I was told that a guy who never came, I never met him. Probably came into the game. I never met him at the game. Play my character, and whatever story stuff failed, saving, blah, and killed my character. Can you believe this? I'm actually butthurt. Tell me why I should or should not be. This group is not a friend group to me, and I kind of think I'm done with them. So I think Tal Invictus, thanks for putting this out there, by the way. Victor Y, good to see you. Laramie, I saw you in Discord. Thanks for popping over. Jim, E, good to see you. Tal Invictus knows the deal. He knows the deal. I think he's just putting this out there. I don't want to say for validation, okay? Because that seems trite. But imagine saying, "Hey, come play in this game." Okay, sounds good. I'll make a tune. But here's the deal. I can only play every other session. No problem. And then some new guy, some other guy comes to the group when you're not there. And they let that new guy play your character, and the new guy gets your character killed. We've gone through Twitter on this live stream before. We've gone through some, hey, this happened. How would you handle it? Or, hey, is this kind of crazy? Or is this the way it rolls all the time? Whether it's with new players, longer term players, whatever. It is amazing. It is just astounding to me when we're in 2021, almost 2022. Role-playing games have been around for 30, 40 years. And these things happen. I mean, why? First of all, why would you feel compelled to say, well, dude is only going to be here every other week, so why don't you play his character the weeks he's not here? And maybe they both will never play together, right? Maybe their shifts don't align. But look at all these guys that are like, yeah, I wouldn't play with them. And I think Tal Invictus knows this. I think it's just a matter of like, hey, I wanted to share this. And we all need, I think, a check, right? Like, am I the kooky one? Like, am I overreacting? I've had that. Like, I've gone to Brett, like, hey, man, I've got this experience that I'm going through. Is it me? Or because am I overreacting? Should I not be concerned? Or am I just being too concerned? Am I being overzealous? So I think that's what he or she's doing. But the game master, I mean, come on. What is going on? Man. Every time I read stuff like this or come across it, I just think to myself, man, there are some really terrible game masters out there, and they're running games like that players are playing in. Like, this person has probably been running for this group before they tapped Tal Invictus. I'm telling you, I don't know. It's nuts. If I get like that, you guys better slap the shit out of me. Current players, future players. I think game mastering is a challenge. Okay. I think we can all agree to that. There are some of us that are better at tackling that challenge than others. Okay. You know, Mr. Frankhouse is Iron GM, 3-time winner or whatever, Iron GM. You know, Eric's got his proverbial shit together. A lot of us do. And it is our mission, I feel, like us, collaboratively speaking, the good game masters of the world, to you know, get Tal Invictus and other people that are suffering from shitty game masters to either find other games to play or have them start GMing, right? Like, hey, you had a bad experience with the GM. Take that. Don't leave the hobby. Take it in and understand that's not the way to do things. File it under the, hey, I don't want to be like that. I won't leave, but I'm going to take it as a lesson. You know, break the cycle, break the chain. Just unbelievable. What would have it been here's the thing. That's just that, right? Tal Invictus doesn't even sound like he's played. I don't know if he's even played 5 work to welcome in, level 8 work shift, literally can't make it every other. I don't know how many sessions he or she has played. I'm guessing probably not a ton, if any. So imagine if that's the premise of the campaign, right? Like, well, not the premise of the campaign, but that's your first kind of interaction. Like, hey man, how do you like your character? Because, well, here's the thing. I had somebody else play him and they got him killed. First of all, why? It's always, okay, let's back up. So say face value, we look into this and between the lines, and the game master says, okay, this guy's not going to be here. What should he do? Right? There's another player. All of us would say there's a couple options. Make your own tune. And when that person says, Tal Invictus in this case says, hey, I can't make every week, just so you know, then the GM's like, so how's that going to be handled? Right? Well, how's that going to be handled? As a player, like I can ask that. How are you going to handle me being gone? You're just going to stick my character in the corner or what? Well, this is the deal. It's a very mission-based campaign because we play over lunch hour. Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson's going to send you out on a mission. You do the mission. You complete it that hour. You're done. So if they do that and you're not there that week, then I won't send you on that mission. You won't be included. All right, sounds good. Then you can be on the next one. Very easy, right? Fill in, come and go. Drop in, drop out, right? So the drop in, drop out. Okay, sounds good. Or, hey, if you're not there, say they don't cover that. Another guy wants to join the group, and he or she can only make it every other week, the week that Tal Invictus isn't there. Then it's a matter of, okay, I got a situation. Here's the thing. I got you being there 1 week, off a week, and I got another player that's going to be there 1 week and off a week. Would it be okay between the two of you to play the same character? That way that character can level and go, and there's some continuity with the character. The group can have that character's expertise. So say they're fighter or they're cleric, so they can have a cleric in a 5e game and they still have the healer, and the healer's not gone every other week, blah, 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 blah. So you broach the subject in a question, feel out the players. It might still be a little, well, why would you want to do that? But nonetheless, it's still at least a conversation, right? For the guys, the players to weigh in. Same question I would have is, okay, great. How's character death going to be handled? I don't know what might have happened the previous week. Does that matter? Maybe it's built into the story. Like you have these bouts of, maybe you have, I don't want to say a dual personality, but maybe that's the case. Maybe like one week you don't remember what happened to you, and now the next week you do. You have these like in and out spurts of consciousness of being in that role in that body. Who knows? Whatever. But this just it's like a no-brainer to many of us, really. But think about it. There's somebody out there that's like, I don't know, I don't see a problem with this. Catching up with the chat. It's just crazy. Eric says, there needed to become no transparency, and they killed your PC. Yeah. Sounds brutal. Definitely disrespectful. Radel says, I know this sounds reductive, but I kind of wish they would post how old they are. This sounds like guys in their early 20s, lack of self-awareness. Maybe. Not always age, but I understand the concern. Zwiefer says, we talk about player agency a lot. This is the biggest example of having that taken away. And I think it's a no-brainer. Like, this isn't the type of game that I'm going to want to participate in. Like, I don't want to say it only gets harder from a game master perspective. But I mean, these are kind of like table stakes, man. Like, how are you going to handle like a player or, being there or not being there? Like, oh boy, Augie's just entered the room. Great. Even E. Armstrong says, even for my primary group, people give permission to play their character while they aren't there, which is a great point. And I had that in my brain as I was talking, and then it magically flew out of it. You could see it. But that's a great point. And it may not even come up in session 0, like, hey, what if somebody can't make it? Oh, this is how we're going to handle it. Most of the times, those things come up when the person's not going to be there, right? I think it's usually in the moment, in my situation. So, in the Forbidden Lands group that I'm running, if one of the guys can't make it, we try to reschedule, because we have 4 players. We don't have 6. I think like you're missing one out of a 6-person party. Not a big deal. You just roll with it. But, for 4, do you want to reschedule? You want to keep playing? Then if they say, no, keep playing. It's okay. I'll just, I'll catch up next time. What do you want us to do with your character? Players that have the option of saying, leave it up to the GM. Have the GM play them. Or I want my character to go along, but put them in the back seat, put them in the trunk, probably more or anything. Or have one of the other players in the group run that PC. Now, again, a lot of good players and a lot of good game masters and a lot of players that have game mastered are going to understand when they're taking over another player's character, they're not probably going to role play them. They're going to only use them when needed. Like, okay, great. Sean says, all right, what do you guys want to do? Well, I attack. I attack the bandits. Okay. What does, missing player character do? Well, see, they're a fighter, they're going to go in an attack, or they're a cleric, they're going to lay back in the weeds, and they're going to go and heal, They're going to go over near me or near Jane or John's character so that if they get hit, they can heal them. Very supportive back shadow playing style, right? Because many of us don't want to be responsible for losing the character. Like, I mean, come on, right? We don't want to, hey man, we had to talk. Yeah, how'd the game go? Yeah, about that game. So yeah, it went really well all the way up until the point where we were ambushed by bandits, and you rushed in to save everybody, and you got killed. So yeah, you might want to make up another character. Yikes, right? We don't usually want to do that. So we put him in the back. Put him in the back of the party. I mean, even fighter types, right? In a fantasy game, usually the big buffy muscle, you know, when the person's gone, you'd probably want to play pretty conservative, I would say. That's the key, the word, right? Or you can even ask him like, hey man, how do you want this to go? How do you want hey, I'm going to play your character. Here's what I'm thinking. You good with that? Yeah. Okay. You're going to hold it against me if you get him killed? No, of course not. Okay. I'm going to do my best, but I don't usually play casters. It's okay. Here's the deal. You've seen what he or she does. Lob bombs from behind lines, right? Behind the wall. It's all good. You guys like went off, and I'm like scrolling backwards because the chat jumped, and it irritates the crap out of me. And I gotta go get my squirt bottle and a thing to drink. Hold on a second. Augie, you stop that. Weapon of choice. I just wish you would go lay down or eat or something. Go anywhere. It's like, right? Ugh. Anyways. Let's see. All right. Seems bizarre to me that mature adults would think that's fine. Redelk. Yeah. I don't know. People do kooky stuff. Throw in role-playing games, who knows? Is it a surprise? DM Horror Stories. I mean, Happy Jack's role-playing game podcast, like they had a segment for shit like this. Now, I mean, I remember them going off on pages and pages of these certain situations, and some of them are just crazy to think that this stuff happens. Let me know what you need more. Okay. Then why don't they just make a damn character? Right. Exactly. Eric says. Regarding horrible game masters, I started my session 0 last night. Laramie Wall. Laramie, it's not your first rodeo, so don't be this guy, okay? But, that's a YouTube channel. Being a shitty game, like I should just create a YouTube channel called Shitty Game Master, and I just go through situations of being a shitty game master. What not to do being a game master. Is Brett really a good barometer for that? You're all witnesses. We have permission to strike Sean. Great. Get out of here, Augie. Go. Sorry, guys. Man. Tell this guy I'll run him in a 3-session game. Hit him up. Wash this bullshit away. And this is the thing with situations like this. This stuff runs people out of the hobby. Now, Talon Victus being on Discord could be a video game player. Discord's big on video game gamers, but it's more than that now for sure. But we don't know, I'd have to look back and see when Talon Victus joined the server, because we usually ask like, hey, what's your gaming story? How long you been playing? What do you like to play? Whatever. And usually there's a little stuff in there we can glean, just to know more about the person, right? So, I can't imagine this is Talon Victus's first rodeo, right? But you never know. I mean, it could have been their first foray into this particular game. So just imagine like, hey, I'm a Forbidden Lands, fan, and somebody runs Forbidden Lands for Talon Victus, and this is how it turns out. Or they're new to the hobby, and without even coming on our Discord and saying, hey, is it me? No, it's not you. It's the Knucklehead Game Master. Because they could have just said, if this is how role-playing games are, I don't want anything to do with it. And some people have never, that's what their first foray into the hobby is. And then it's a story that they bring up at some other some social gathering, like we're probably at, and you go, oh yeah, I love role-playing games. That's kind of my shtick. That's my hobby. I love it. I run games. What are you talking about? Role-playing games like D&D? Yeah. Oh yeah. I tried it once back in college, back in high school, back, 2 years ago, a year ago, a month ago, whatever. And, some friends wanted me to play, or some friends of friends. And I had a bad experience. What? Can you elaborate? Well, this is what happened. Oh, shit. And you never played again? No, I just thought that's the way it ran. Just thought that's the way it goes. And I was like, I don't know. It didn't seem very exciting to me or interesting. It's like, really? Really? That should be our mantra. Like, man, don't let a shitty game master run you out of the hobby. Get that on a t-shirt. Victor says, how would the GM even think that was acceptable? Others playing your characters should have been a session 0 topic for it to even be on the table. Now, granted, for sure, right? No brainer. But let's think about this just for a second. Maybe why'd that go off? I'm going to be a little devil's advocate for just a second. My guess is that this game master doesn't do session 0s. Probably has never heard of session 0. Like literally, like they probably do elements of it. Like, hey, I'm going to run this game and everybody's like, some people's session 0 is, hey, I'm gonna run 5e. You guys up for it? Sure. Okay, let's make up 5 character. Make up a character each, and then we'll meet next Saturday. Like, that's some game masters' session 0. For those that have dedicated members of their group, that may work just fine. Like, hey, man, I've been playing with these guys for 20 years, 10 years, 2 years. They know the deal. Like, hey, it's the same as the last. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And that may work, right? But as we've grown over time, and experienced things like this, or we've thought, hey, we need to nip some things in the bud because we don't want to have these crappy experiences. Then we get into session 0. Some of us have branched out and we learned some of this through some of our social circles. Like Brett and I have talked about, there's some groups, man, that's it. That's their group. That's it. They don't know anything outside beyond that. They don't go to gaming conventions. They're not what some people would consider like the alpha gamer, which I think is a little, I don't know if I like the term necessarily, but there are people that listen to podcasts. They buy a lot of books. They are the forever game master. They don't have a problem game mastering. They prefer to game master. They also like playing, but maybe playing is not longer term for them because they like variety, and maybe we all have a little control freak in us. Who knows? But there are we tune into podcasts, we watch YouTube videos, we know of different publishers other than just Wizards of the Coast and D&D. We know of other games other than that. There's some that don't in our hobby. Like, they're still kind of us back when we started, like just playing with our friends. That's fine. There's nothing, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But with that can come some shortcomings like this. So they don't go, they don't improve the craft. They just think that the way that they're running is the best way and it's the only way, and the players are like, that's the way Sean rolls. This is what how we game. Crazy, but it's true. Nubis, I wanted to play instead of DMing for once and got into a random group. The DM was quite bad, but it was still a learning experience. At least I realized what I hate and never want to do as a DM. Most of us have taken up the GM reins because we've either gotten tired of the same GM that we've always had. Maybe it's just, hey, need a little spice it up. That's how we were when we were growing up. Dustin was a long-term friend of mine, still is to this day. I've known him for over 30 years, and he was the de facto DM. If he wasn't around, we didn't play. Right? So that's a problem. Well, that's a gap. I guess I could. You guys okay with that? Like, I don't know what I'd be doing, but I'll give it a shot. Players would be supportive of that, right? Because then they get to play. Oh, yeah, man, sure, yeah, go, Sean. We're with you. We're behind you. How are we going to do this? All right. And if you got good players to help you out with that and getting your foot off the ground into GMing, great. That's awesome. And that's the way it should be, because they have a stake in it, right? They get to play more. Or it's a hey, I played with a game master. They were okay. I just think I could do a better job. And better is relative, but they just maybe a more player friendly game, or a more story. There's more story to it, or whatever the play style or tone or whatever it is that may be missing in your opinion. And you pick up the reins and you're like, I'm going to give this thing up. I'm going to see if this works. But it's a craft. I mentioned that before. It's a craft. And those of us that appreciate it for it being a craft seek a way to always improve. And some of us slide into our old habits a little bit. Like, here's our comfort zone. Here's the setup, right, of the scene. And then we realize, I could have done that maybe a little bit differently. Or I'm having this hurdle, and then I listen to this show, or I read on this forum and realized, I could have done that differently. Or they handled the same issue in a different way, and it sounded like it would work much better. Awesome. I'm going to try that next time. Last week, I talked about points of no return and, Jesus Christ, I can't even remember the other thing. It's two things I can't even remember. Points of no return and shoot. But it was the mob boss spitting in the person's face and saying, hey, this is a dangerous, serious and dangerous issue, right? Putting down the table stake at that point in time. Like, hey, if you choose to do that, I'm just kind of checking, right? I'm doing a check-in. I'm getting your consent, right? Like, that's what they alluded to. Like, you still want to do that? Yeah. Okay. Because you could die. Like, he could just shoot you. That's fine. Okay. Spit in the face, he shoots you. Instead of, are you sure you want to do that? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, now they shoot you. Whoa, right? So those little subtle nuances can go along. Subtle? Yeah, did I say subtle? Subtle nuances? Subtle nubsences can go a long ways, right? It's just a lot of verbiage and a lot of, yeah, you guys get it. It's not preaching to the choir, man. This is the problem. Sounds like it was not on the table. Yeah. Which Victor goes into mentioning. Make Talon the merchant that travels with them. Old wizened adventure that ages that age has gotten to. Only can adventure every so often. Yeah. Or use a hub they operate out of. Right. That's what Eric's talking about. Like situations where if you only got a character that can show up every couple weeks, use a centralized hub where they can go out or they don't, right? That's kind of the mission-based kind of thing, or their points of light campaign. Like, here's our home base. It's Townville. And this week, you go out. You leave player that's not there, their character behind. You go out of Townville. Come back to Townville. Or you're out, person shows up, they meet up with you. You know, you leave a sign, right? You mark a tree with your symbol and sign, they know where you are, right? Okay, they catch up with you. Great. They're the old wizened wizard. Maybe they don't say much. Maybe they just travel along, but they don't have anything to contribute but wisdom at certain points. They're not a very big talker. Who knows? Or they have these, who knows? It's easy to handle. Laramie says, Anubis, I think that's important. I take notes in convention games, what I like, what I don't. That's interesting. Now whenever I have Laramie in a game, I don't think we've played together, Laramie, have we? Oh, great. Now I got to be weary of Laramie sitting back with this like pen. Interesting choice, Sean. I'll roll my dice now. E says to Victor, only option is that it is a new GM, or they don't understand why people keep leaving their games. Yeah. Jim, have the two players each play one half of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde combination. If one dies, then the split personality is cured. Yeah, there you go. That's a cool one. Or, just have two separate characters. There's options. Like that whole thing could have been just complete. At least have a discussion around it. Like that's the problem, right? Like, hey man, I didn't get a say. Oh man, make them an Etten. Oh, that'd be cool. One player's one head and the other player's the other head, right? It's creativeness. Yeah, man. Red Elk, sometimes do you think the story mentality versus emergent story plays into it? Like, I have no qualms about taking a character out of the session when they aren't playing. That's another good point, right? The GM has something that they're trying to put in. Oh, I gotta have all the players there in the next one. Most of the times when we talk about having all the players at a session, it's usually because it's like going to be something grandiose, right? It's something beyond a typical, hey, you travel, and you travel some more, right? It's a major plot shift, or a maybe it's the big bad and their monologues coming and you don't want everybody to miss it, right? Or you prefer to hold off, right? Oh, you're going to be missing. Should we play? We could, but I'd really prefer if everybody was there at the next one. Why? Well, it's the big reveal or whatever. Maybe it may just be that, the reveal. This is what the game has been leading up to. I'd hate to have you hear about it secondhand. Not a big deal. But there is a component of emergent story play. Like, it's an interesting conundrum, because I think about this and say, most of the times, or more recently, I've thought about like Forbidden Lands specifically in that game, and how it's like, I got to put things in front of the player characters, give them problems to solve, obstacles to overcome, without getting too much into what is the story? What's the motivation? Why are they there? Who are they? And that can come out of that play. But there's some that are like, hey, you buy a Wizards of the Coast scenario or any third party, insert whatever module, and there is an outline to that. And there are decisions that the player characters can make, but in that game, you need them to go to a certain place. They need to talk to certain NPCs. They need to unravel certain mysteries, come across certain clues, take them to the next point. And it's maybe more linear, or can be more linear in its approach. There is a plot. So with some of us, we don't mind playing some like older games. There may not be a deep plot, right? You go to the dungeon, you're there to explore, gain riches, settle down. Like that's the deal. Whatever else comes out of that, great. And then there are some is like, I'm a hero. I want to play that movie. I want to play that book. I want to play that comic, right? I want to have that type of experience. I want interweaving threads, very interesting NPCs, a very big mystery, and I want to be at the center of it, and I want to unravel it myself, which is all great as well, but it's a different type of play. And I think there's a balance that we all need to make, and as game masters, it could be a bit tricky depending on our own personal style and the type of game we're running and the actual game we're running, right? Because you get too much into the, hey, I got a story, I'm a GM, I got a story to tell, then the players don't feel as though they have a lot of their own individual personal, they say agency, right? They may not feel that the decisions that they're making have an impact on what's going on because the game master's already laid it out. Like, game master already has it in their brain. Oh man, I gotta hold on a second. I bet you. All right. Yeah, one of my dogs is up. I think she'll be all right. Or I got a mess that I'll be cleaning up. All right, moving on with the chat here, catching up. Fade into the black background, Redelic says, no explanation needed. I'm curious how does Critical Role handle it when a cast member isn't there? I don't know if that's happened. I don't know. Any critters out there that know? Dang it, chat. Why does it do that? Son of a gun. Urgh. Here we go. Oh man. I'm gonna kill this chat. All right, here we go. Here we go. Laramie's general house rule. It's if it's game where the character can't just leave like a dungeon, make it the player's job to find a replacement player. It could be someone in the game. It could be someone else. Victor, plot armor was invented for these situations. Ew, plot armor. Red Laramie continues, I like it when they have a replacement player, usually another friend of ours. That can be super fun. Player hit head and is unconscious for a session? Sure. He says most of the times this is narrative justification for why they aren't there. These people get grabbed in the night. This character has something in their backstory and must run away. I guess I see third floor wars do it, Alex says. That's Craig Shipman. Where guests step in, but I figure that doesn't have something to do with the stream, and the stream must go on. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know how Craig handles that. I'd have to look at some of that. I don't watch a ton of his actual plays. And maybe I should. I should watch more actual plays based on the Game Master. And I think one of the things, and I know this, some individuals I've spoken to specifically around how to RPG is to analyze Game Masters or get Game Masters to run an actual play and then sit back and say, hey, why did you make that decision? How did you come up with that specifically? You could have went this route or that route. Why did you go that route? And then hopefully we can learn from that, or they can learn from that as well. So I don't know. We'll see. Kind of GM analysis necessarily. It's ESPN of game mastering. Watch out for Zwiefer's table. Some people knock out the character. Zwiefer knocks out the player. All right. E says, I've heard of the magical gem stuff. Whenever anyone can't make it, they are sucked into the gem. Victor says, in games I've played, we typically make the character vanish into the background only to use their helpful ability when needed. Yep. But without putting their life on the line, for sure. What's up, Harrigan? Snuck in there. Good to see you. Yeah, Victor says, I lived for those Happy Jacks letters. So painful. Yeah, they had some real cringe ones, like super, whoa. I would watch the hell out of that shitty Game Master. Brett Bazinski, good to see you. Morning. Great topic discussion. Has missing player characters been covered in a Gaming NBS episode? In our longer running Star Wars game, I have missing PCs left behind to guard the ship. Yeah, I think with Star Wars, there's certain games that could probably facilitate it a little bit better than others. Not, better as in probably just the format of the game. Especially like Age of Rebellion. Like if you're part of the rebellion and you're going on missions all the time, or, hey, this guy's sitting this one out. We don't need their skills. Hey, they're on the ship, right? They're Brett hanging out on the ship. Victor, what you play role playing games? What, like Monopoly? Yeah, right. Eric says, I almost quit when I was a kid over something very similar to this shit. Or at least the conversation with the person if you missed to talk about it. Yeah. Why, Victor says, why people playing don't see these situations are crappy makes absolutely no sense to me. They should have seen this bomb coming. My thing is like, what should I do? Should I leave? And some folks seem like a prisoner of their own game. Like not even their own game, but the game, that group that they're in. Like, I don't know where else to go. I don't know who else to play with. It's so crazy that, my generation knew pre-internet and post-internet, right? So we know like, hey, if I got to find my buddies, if I want to hook up with my buddies, we either have to have a planned time and day, like in advance. Like, hey, you want to do something this Saturday? Cool. I'm going to come by your house at 2. Okay. Right? Or it's on the spur of the moment. And spur of the moment back in the day was I'll call them on a corded phone from my house because that's where my phone is, or a payphone. But if I'm at a payphone, I got to be at the payphone and with money. Call my friend, hope they answer the phone when I call them and have them be at home when I call them. Or I take my bicycle and I ride my bike over to their house, knock on the door. Hey, Mrs. and Mr. Jones, is Jeff here? Nope, sorry, he's not here. He went down here. He went to the park. He's out with some other friends. Okay, sounds good. Like with today's technology and the, texting, messaging, Discord, hey, anybody want to play a game in like an hour? Yeah, sure. I don't have anything going on. Okay, sounds good. And you know how to play? No. Okay, no problem. We'll teach you. Like it's just a different world, but I think some of us have social anxiety. So there's lots of reasons why people won't play with other individuals. Some of us, right? Again, this goes back to some of us who are like, I don't understand it. Well, it's easy. It's easy because we could say, well, that's not who, like, put a post up in a local game store, put it up on a forum, gaming moot for Gaming NBS. Like there's just other options, but we don't know. Like there's people that have, I just don't feel comfortable playing with people I don't know. Like that's not a technology and facilitation piece. That's a person piece that we have to be conscious of. Let's see. I GM because nobody else either had the game or wanted to put the GMing effort in, Victor says. Nubis, man, after every session I run, I keep going over scenes in my head and what I could have done better. It's annoying, but I can't let it go. Nubis, don't stop being you. Off topic, but anyone see the British talk show host try to shame Henry Cavill for painting and playing Warhammer recently? Felt so cringe and outdated to still be doing that nerd shaming stuff. Yeah, I haven't seen it, Redauk. It's ridiculous. It's still out there. Who was it that I saw recently? Was it that? Can't remember who it was. You played D&D. Oh, no, it wasn't that. It was something else. It was something. A journalist interviewed one of the lead actors in Squid Game. And they said, well, what's it like to finally, break out and be famous and, get all this attention? And he's a known star. Like he's acted, I believe his background's Korean. Like, he's a big Korean popular actor. The journalist, because you can't be a popular actor if you're not known by the U.S. journalism that covers movies and film, right? Like, how ignorant, right? I'm not sure why I came up with that, but the guy kind of went along with it. It was like, okay, it's obviously, you know what you're talking about. And that's why I see some of those situations like, oh, you play D&D? Oh, do you have a character name? And what do they sound like? And it's not genuine curiosity. It's snideness to it, which is really shitty. Brett says, we are our own worst critics. The things I forget, I write down for future plot hooks to be unleashed in the next couple of sessions. Lucas, good to see you. It's foggy. Thanks for the update. I want to know what's going on in Nebraska. You are my feet on the ground. There is news. I'm pinging you, Lucas, in Nebraska. Reminder, this community is so great. Harrigan popped up for breakfast a few weeks ago. Yeah, that's true. God bless the chat. Catching up. It's very rare for a cast member to miss a game on CR. Yeah. GMing analysis. Yep, Harrigan. Harrigan's one of the ones that I've talked to about some of the GM analysis pieces. Some of the challenges, like creating YouTube videos is no joke. Like if you could do it and you're like a natural talker and you've got, a way to kind of just, Colville does a very good job because of his videos. We don't know how, like he could be an editing mess, but based on some of the videos, Ben, Milton, some of these guys had some very quality YouTube channels. They've been doing it a lot, but there's some effort, right? Like, what are they going to talk about? What's the outline? Are they going to be cuts? Are there going to be B-rolls? It's a different ballgame than even podcasting. And so when I talk about wanting to do something for How to RPG and GM analysis, it's like, how do I bite that off? And one of the things that I think would maybe be doable that has been thrown around with discussions with Harrigan and Gabe as well is you take up either an hour segment of a game, or it's a very short game that's run. Maybe it's an encounter, and then you have the GM on and you talk to the GM and you do like a DVD, right? DVD director's commentary piece. So you play the video, and as it goes, you stop and go, let's stop right there. Okay, I want to ask you about this component. Tell me how you came up with that. I think that's cool. But it's work, right? It's who, like, you got to have an actual play. You got to talk to the game master or the player or whoever and have them on. Or you do it, I could just pull up Craig's live play and go, okay, I'm watching this. Ooh, but how would I know? Is it, you could only make assumptions if you don't have the person there to explain how they're making the decisions they do. Like Eric Frankhouse, right? Could analyze the shit out of that guy. Like, what the hell? How did he, He does a lot of streams. It says that is exactly what I do, Sean, to hone my few on-screen styles of jamming. Yeah. Michael says, in one campaign, Michael Holland, my players bought donkeys to carry gear loot. When a player couldn't be there, they were mining the donkeys. Yeah, simple, right? Or several campaigns down the road, and people still mine the donkeys when needed. Donkeys got to be needed. They got to be protected, too. In my game of Castles COC, Call of Cthulhu, Lucas, I come up with BS character, another thing to do, or got lost at the airport, or decided to take his bike over the airplane. I make sure players don't share the events. Yeah. Victor says, back when I started playing, if I wanted to leave the group, I had to find other players at the FLGS, but all those players were the players I just left. Yeah. Too funny. Where am I going here? I'm trying to get back into the Discord in case somebody says. There we go. In case somebody raises their hand. Okay. Players will GM for each other, but refuse to GM for me. Pencil Mage, good to see you. To be honest, I love to GM. Jim says, it took me a while to get comfortable with the idea of playing with strangers before I just dove in, and GMing was an even bigger adjustment. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not. And I am guilty of this. Like, just join the Discord, join a game. It's not that big a deal. Like, it's not easy, and it's not easy for GMs to run for players they don't know. There's a lot of nuances that some of us have no problems with. That's okay, but that's not all of us. We have to understand the differences between us and have a little bit of empathy in understanding why somebody has a bit of a hurdle running games for other people or joining games with people that they don't know. Hopefully, and the idea behind like Gaming and BS and some other podcasts and streams and even the Discord community is that you start to kind of get a feel of the personalities of the people that are part of the community. You get the tone of the community, right? They have a certain kind of common philosophy or mentality, right? Like you go to other Discords, they might not see things the same way we do. There's differences. Play style differences, right? This is the way we play. This is the rule. And over here, it's maybe loosier, goosier. Who knows? But getting in and understanding that and kind of shifting around allows you to get some exposure, and then you can kind of jump in and say, all right, I'll give it a chance. Take a chance. Nobody's going to punch you in the face, especially if you play virtually. Nobody is going to punch you in the face. Worst case scenario, this is not the game for me. I bow out. This is not the group for me. Sorry, guys. I'm done with this. This is the last session. Oh, that sucks. And then drama ensues and we talk about it for months. Anyways, just kidding. Probably not the best thing to say, right? Regarding a journalist not doing their homework, Sean's Squid Game story, there was an interview with Whedon after release of Cabin in the Woods. Really? I didn't even know he was he in? Oh, Joss Whedon. Oh, boy. Yikes. Zweefer says, one podcast I'd recommend to you is RPG Lessons Learned. Hasn't had much for new content in a while, but the premise is they go over their old sessions and discuss what they can improve on. Yeah. 30-minute episode on average. Okay, good to know. And those people would be wrong. Yeah. All right. Caught up on the chat. Jeez. Thanks, guys. Good stuff. Really appreciate it. One other thing I wanted to talk about today. I don't know if this is kind of, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but who knows? So if you're not aware, Cortex Prime has a new community license, and it sparks criticisms amongst players and RPG designers. I have not seen the buzz on the Twitters. I've gotten some of these articles showing up in some of my news feeds. So Dicebreaker, I don't know if they're not the only one. I don't know if they're regurgitating each other's stuff, but I imagine they're getting some of their info from online. Excuse me, buzz, if you will. Oh, excuse me. So if you're not aware, Cortex Prime by Fandom and oh my God, who's the see Harrigan. Oh my God, who did Cortex Prime? What's his name? Kiwi from New Zealand. Cam Banks. Jeez, Sean. See, I still got it. It's just a little slower. Cam Banks. They made Leverage, Supernatural. I don't know. Leverage, Firefly, Serenity. One of those. Like, it had a few different properties behind it. And Cortex Prime, they released it as kind of the framework core system piece. Smallville, thanks, Ty. I have it. I started reading it, didn't get too much into it. Ghost GM, one of the community members, big fan of Cortex. He's done a few different things with it. Pretty big advocate of it. So the nice thing is about Cortex, my understanding, based on my own ignorance, is kind of like, it says right here, is a genre agnostic RPG system, right? Hey, Kevin. Serenity, Firefly. Okay, great. Thanks, Victor. So essentially, if you say, hey, you know what? I was kind of thinking of making my own like Ghostbusters game, right? You could probably use Savage Worlds, GURPS, a few different games. Cortex Prime allows you to choose certain elements that it provides to you to, do you want to do skill checks? Do you want to do this? And then you kind of, I don't want to say create your own game, but you could use bits and pieces of the mechanics from Cortex Prime to build your own kind of Ghostbusters game. And you could probably do that with Savage Worlds and some other ones as well, right? You can, but Cortex Prime is really set up as that true, I think, toolbox type. And I don't even want to say system because it's modularity in its aspects, like probably like Fate Core, like Victor says. And so when you talk about a system, I would say after you get done creating your thing with Cortex Prime, then you've got your kind of system in your game together, right? All together. All right. So having said that, if I create Sean RPG and I use Cortex pieces, right? I go through the Cortex rulebook and I go, I'm going to use that, this, and that. Like, I want it to be ability based. I want it to be, tag based or aspect based, like Fate or something along those lines. And I want the solution, the problem resolution mechanic to be kind of based like this. You take those components and use them. One thing that I would really, really, really love to know is because in the US, as far as I know, there isn't a big way to copyright mechanics. And I think I need an ad blocker because that stuff, but yes, I know. Hey, well, good to see you, man. So I think to me, here's my take. And a lot of the SRD stuff that is out there is out there because they either want it to proliferate, right? Hey, you want to play Pathfinder, the original? All that shit is out there. The only thing that companies really can lay terms to is the IP, the intellectual property. So if you're going to run it, Sean's RPG has the name Beholder in it, that's going to be a trademark issue. If it's got Mind Flayer in it, that's going to be a trademark issue, right? That's going to be issues with Wizards. They're going to be, no, you can't use that stuff. Can I use Brain Gorger or Brain Sucker? Sure. But going, hey, I roll 2 dice and you move this piece 4 squares, that shit is not enforceable. So I'm wondering how some of that plays into this. Now, fandom is not going to tell you that, right? They're going to put it in a book, they're going to sell it, and if you try to do certain things with it, they're going to probably enforce their lawyers on them. And fandom's not small by any means. So they have money. Right, mechanics are not copyrightable in the US, but the language used to describe them can be. It just means you have to reword the mechanics. Oh, interesting. Okay. Regardless. So anyways, back to this. Fandom Community Manager posted an update on Kickstarter on November 30th, a few days ago of this recording, outlining both the original planned community license and newly announced commercial one, right? Community license, hey, I want to create my own games and stream them. Okay, cool. You're not going to make any money off it or sell it? Nope. Okay. Commercial one, you want to sell it. I want to use Cortex. I want to write up my Ghostbusters game, probably, Ghost Slayers game. Throw it out there. Yeah, tapping is copyrighted, so many people just rename it, right? That's a good example. Right, they tap cards, they just don't tap cards, which is completely ridiculous. So you can't put it in a written word, right? We're at the table, we're going to say, you just tap it. Okay, sounds good. Talk about wankering. Anyways. So, the former, which would allow players to create and share hacks, mods, and other content online for free, and then can be found here. Cortex Prime, the latest version of decades old, blah, 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 blah. Doucette, who works for the former wiki hosting company that owns Cortex Prime, used an FAQ format to explain the somewhat dense language of the legal agreement, largely focusing on the material differences between mods or rules and the fiction, artwork, and lore of established setting. Many have highlighted one paragraph in the explainer as particularly troubling. Apparently, Fandom will own all trademarks and copyrights in and to the Cortex system, and game mechanics, systems, mods, and other rules created, whether by Fandom or you, that become a part of the Cortex system. This is, first, of course, people are going to have concerns about that. My question is that even enforceable? The next question is, it doesn't matter, because they're just going to sue you into oblivion if you don't adhere to it. And if they lose, so what? You don't have any money to defend it. Any new Cortex Prime mechanics, mods, and other rules you create or alter become available for other members of the Cortex community to use under the license linked above. So you create your rule for Ghost Slayers, and then anybody could use that. So it is a very much these things, some creators are going to run away from if they are looking to monetize. Like, hey man, I want to make money doing my stuff. They're going to run away from this stuff because it's going to be too much bullshit. Man, I don't need this crap. I'll go find something else. I'll go use Pip system. Now, there are plenty of companies that release shit like this. It's not clear. They get online, which I heard Fandom is doing, like, all right, hold on a second. We're going to get online. We're going to explain this all to you. Well, you can explain whatever you want, right? You can explain what you want, but if it's in writing, it doesn't matter what they say. It might clarify it, but a judge is still going to interpret this as legal or illegal or whatever, or violation, right? If somebody crosses the line and does something that they say can't be done in writing. So Spotify had a big issue. Anchor's part of Spotify, but Anchor had a huge issue in the beginning because it had something in their terms and agreement where it basically said, hey, if you start a podcast using Anchor, Anchor owns it or owns the content. And people were like, they didn't read it. They didn't care. It was a free app. They just talked into it and they're, and that was it. And they're like, I don't care. Big deal. Doesn't matter. It's free. The people like myself and some other podcasters are like, if you're using Anchor, you're crazy because it's not yours anymore. That's ridiculous. Like when they slide terms into that bullshit, especially if you don't know it, you just got to be educated. And then if you still want to do it, well, then that's your own fault. Anchor changed it, either changed the verbiage in the terms and agreement, or I think they did both. They changed it and then they explained, like, no, it's yours. We just have the right to distribute it, blah, blah, blah. Or use it in our promos or whatever. Great, fine, whatever. But yeah, people that are going to be Cortex Prime, I think they did change it, Eric. I mean, I know it was a huge concern. I heard they were like, no, we changed it. I don't think they admitted to changing it. I could be wrong. I don't know how it went down, but it got figured out. And I'd have to look at the terms. And I hate reading terms and conditions. We all do. How many people have installed software and gone to this site and, do you agree? Oh, yeah, shit, man. Sure, you can have my firstborn and $1 million. Like, we never read any of that shit. So the thing is, though, if I used Cortex and its rules, I don't understand how it would be enforceable. And I think it's just another, So anyways, all trademarks and copyrights in and to the Cortex system and game mechanics, it says. Game mechanics. Like, what? And the thing is just because a company puts it in a term and a condition doesn't make it that component doesn't mean it's legal just because they write it in a paragraph, right? Hey, guess what? There's unlawful contracts. Shocker. There is, right? Like, leases on apartments. There's stuff that you can put in leases and stuff you can't. Just because you write it in there doesn't make it right. So my understanding is Cortex is going to address some of this because obviously we want the community to go, oh, okay, I got it. I understand. That makes sense. And embrace it and create content and have it proliferate and, be good stuff. Cam Banks, this was Cam's thing. And I don't know how, I wish I would have known more about the whole Cam's going to work for Fandom. Fandom's going to buy the rights to Cortex. Maybe that's a good deal. It's almost as if you sit in your basement and you build something like Oculus Rift. You make tons of money because you sell it to Facebook. And now the CEO left. And why do you think he left? Probably because, it's Facebook now. And I've done what I can. And they've taken it over. I'm out of here. Like, I got my money. It's gone. Now, I'm not saying that happened with Cam and Cortex system itself. But Cam doesn't strike me as the legalese guy. Like, I'm sure he is much like many RPG designers and publishers, small, like, individuals that say, I've done this for a long time. I want to get paid for my stuff. And it's hard, right? Selling stuff, marketing it, getting it off the ground. Cortex has been around for a while, man. This is not like Cortex just came up last week. Like this thing has been around in a lot of different systems and a lot of different properties. I think Margaret Weiss oversaw it for a while, right? With the leverage properties and Smallville and all those. I think that was over Margaret Weiss Productions, right? I don't think they were under Fandom. I could be wrong. That's something you guys want to check. That's cool. But now that Fandom's got, now it's a corporate. You think, we bang on Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro. These guys are big corporate. Fandom rescued Cam with that Kickstarter. Without Fandom, Cortex Prime would have been one of those Far West Kickstarters. Oh, interesting. I did not realize that. He was years late on delivery, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel before Fandom. Interesting. Which is strange to me, because you would have thought like Cam had it mostly baked. Like maybe he just scope creep. Like I got visions of grandeur and it's not right, and he just kept going and going and going, right? Blades in the Dark, John Harper had a huge issue with filling his stuff on time. And Evil Hat got it out the door. It's probably because, I don't know, some of these guys just are good at one or two things, right? Cam, we need you to design Cortex, and that's all you need to do. The rest, like, they don't know marketing, they don't know Kickstarter, they don't know, project management, they don't know they don't know budgets. We just need you to write. Get in the writer's room and write. And that's, maybe some of the problems with role-playing game hobby or some other things is that we're just stretched too far to do certain things that were out of our knowledge and comfort zone, and those things don't get addressed and shit falls through the cracks. Totally understandable. Not acceptable, but understandable. Yeah. Cam's a great designer, not a great project manager. Nittner is project manager in role-playing games. That's what Sean's forte is. That's what he does for Evil Hat. Like, as far as I know, and of course, Sean has other skills, right? He does probably some design. I think he's got a few games under his belt as well. He organizes one of the cons, I believe, and I can't remember the name of it. It's for GMs. I don't remember. But anyways, that's so getting off kind of the rails there. Yeah. So here was the original post by Melissa. It's a can you imagine being in a room at Fandom and being a product owner of this? All right, here's the deal. We want people to play the game and buy the books. But we just have this, it's one book and it's got the kind of the mechanics and modules in it. And Sean buys and goes, okay. Or even Ghost, who jams on it and says, okay, I love this. It's great, right? I'm going to create my own thing. But the other people are like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know if I can, how do we grow the sales of this book? Well, we could allow a license like D&D, right? They've got a license that allows people to put stuff in the DM's Guild and more stuff, right? More content. Right now, like, what content is out there for Cortex? Right? Hey, I buy this Cortex thing. Now what do I do? There is a couple settings. I know there's a setting, right? I thought there was. What? I know there's the Xandria, whatever. Was it? There's something. They've got a setting. Oh, God. Tell you. Why wouldn't they have it on here? Like, here's other things you can buy. Oh, buy? No. Ugh. Eesh. What is Cortex? Read the first primer. Like they have a setting. I don't even know if it's out yet, right? Oh, here we go. Hammerheads. Is that what it? Need to play Hammerheads. Genre and tropes, crisis response, climate change. Playing game. What you need? Hammerheads. Rules. Okay. But I mean, okay. Just go. Case in point. You go to this website, Cortex role-playing game. Great. Like, where can I buy a setting? Can I buy, Genesis system has settings that you can buy. Androids based on Genesis. You've got the fantasy setting for Genesis. But, so they go, okay, we can allow, like, do we want to do that? That's a lot of resources and a lot of time and money. I don't know. I know. We could do a license. Let's do a license. And then we can have other people create stuff for our game. We can have them profit from it. And then we can also profit from it. All right, cool. Well, what do we do? How do we do it? Well, we want to maintain that control. So we can't just open source it for everything. Like we can't OGL it or have it do D20 license. Remember now, D20 license and OGL were separate. They're different, right? There is the OGL, and there's the D20 license. Okay. So how are we going to handle it? Here it is, right? Here's the three things. Trace 2.0, Hammerheads, and Eidolon Alpha. License is here. And they did kind of an FAQ, like what is considered my IP? All new names, nothing, everything not in Cortex, places, situations, stories, lore, art, and fiction you create remain your property. Okay. When I create a new Cortex Prime mechanic, such as mods or new SFX, are those considered my IP? No. But here's my question. Okay, so based on that, it says no, Phantom owns all trademarks and copyrights in and to the Cortex system and game mechanics, systems, mods, and other rules created, whether by Phantom or you, that become a part of the Cortex system. Any new Cortex mechanics, mods, and other rules you create or alter become available for other members of the Cortex community to use under the license linked above. So if I took a game and I used some of the mechanics of Cortex and I didn't call it Cortex, Murder Hobo. What's up, buddy? Too early to be doing Rails, Sean? Interesting. I think Phantom was afraid of a 3.5 Book of Vile Darkness product coming out of their rules. This is Victor. Maybe. Moving on. So I'm just saying, like, if you took mechanics and didn't use the same wording, because let's face it, a lot of rules and mechanics are really like you roll a, D&D. You roll a D20, there's a target number. If you meet the target number or exceed it, it's considered a success. Anybody can use that in any game. They don't have to call it D&D, right? D&D is copyrighted. Like that's their IP, D&D. But if I call it Sean game, Sean RPG, and I use a D20 to resolve something, and a target number, Wizards, are they going to come knocking on my door? Tap. Going to tap again. Yep, turn your card sideways. It's exactly right. Roll a d20. Compare it to a number. If it equals, I think it has to do with them creating a rule and not wanting a creator to come to them and say, hey, I made that. You stole from me. Yeah, that's, of course. I think that we can say that that's the problem. That's what they want to do. That's the thing. That's the stuff, right? That's how do we control this, but get people like Sean and Eric and Victor and AWOL and everybody else to create our stuff and not taking it, creating their own and selling it. Wait, no. Wait a minute. No, that's ours. Victor says it's like the creator of Fudge getting all uptight about Fred making Fate. It's all about the money. Here we go, E. Money. The OJ's, baby. Huh? He knows the deal. Money. It's a great song. What content from Cortex Prime Game Handbook am I allowed to use in my free product? Free product? What? In my free product? Notice it said, like, that is a calculated statement. What content from Cortex Game Handbook am I allowed to use in my free product? It didn't say in my product. It says in my free product. See, it's got Doom, Stress, Milestones. Oh, I'm telling you, you take Cortex Prime, read the book. I got to read it. Now I'm like all fired up. I got to read the book and really understand it much, much better, because I think what's going to happen is, just imagine taking every role-playing game and some of the mechanics. You got Doom in Conan. You've got Momentum in Star Trek from Odysseus. You've got 2D20, right? That's that system. You got Year Zero engine with D6s and dice pools and target numbers of 6 and 1s and mutant in Year Zero engine games. You've got what else? Unique, cool kind of stuff, right? Dread, you got the Jenga tower. They can't even call it Jenga tower, right? They got to call it some block tower or whatever. What else? Whatever, right? You take all those things and you put them in a book, and you put out that book and say, here are all the mechanics that you can pick for your own role-playing game. Just pick and choose. Combat, here's the 5 different choices you have. These are how it works. Magic, mana, Vancian, right? Put that in there. Genesis has got the narrative dice system. You change the system, you change the symbols on the dice. You call it the storyteller plot system, whatever. Character says system. I don't know. Player input system. You take the GM intrusions from Cypher, take all that shit and put it in a book and go, here, make your own RPG. Just pick whatever you want. And this is the book for it. And you put it out for free. And then you tell people to say, I don't know, I was going to do Cortex. I was going to make a game. Or I was going to run my own game. Or I was going to create my own game. But I don't know what system to use. Danny, screw all these guys. Don't use D&D. Don't use Cortex. Don't use blah, blah, blah. Make your own. Publish it. Call it a day. Board games have been doing this stuff for years. Yeah. And they have those terms, right? It's a resource management game. I don't even know the types of board games, right? There's resource management. There's, I don't know, builder board games. I don't know what the terms are. I'm not a board gamer. D&D had 5e had milestones, right? Aspects, throw aspects in there, call it something else. I don't even know. I mean, maybe you don't even have to call it anything else. Aspects. Because Cold Shadows uses aspects. And as far as I know, they're not getting sued. Gallant Knight Games isn't getting sued by Evil Hat. right? They used aspects. This topic is one thing I love with PBTA. PBTA, throw those things in there. Moves, right? Play sheets, whatever. I'm like the dad who's talking like so close to it that gets all his terminology wrong. And both of the bakers, they made a thing and they cheer on anyone who makes something based on it because the PBTA has exploded. Yeah, man. You know, the bakers, they're not fandom. They're not Hasbro. You know, Vincent is also not out to like earn money off other people's creations. Like he doesn't have an interest in going, hey, you know, Dungeon World, you owe me a bunch of money because you used Apocalypse World as the basis of your product. It's just not there. Fred also encourages people who make fate-based games. Cold Shadows is not fate-based. But that probably helps. You're probably right, Victor, and I know where you're going with that. Evil Hat's not going to sue a game that probably use aspects because that's just not who Fred is. Right? Fred's just like, hey man, you're going to create cool. If you're going to stamp fate on it, that's a different story. And I can respect that. Like totally respect. Like if I created something, I want the big Cortex stamp on there. That's a problem. No question. But the whole rules thing and all that, like if I don't touch any of your IP, like list out what your IP is in this thing. List that out. What is it? And they go, oh, it's this. It's our mechanics, our effect dice, our plot points, our tests, our contests. No, that's in any game. Doom Pool. Well, where did you get that? Because probably, gonna guess, go out on a limb here, you know, there's a big, so you guys might not be aware of this. Side tangent, but still a tangent. Still tangential. OBS Streamlabs OBS. Slobs is what it's sometimes referred to here in the streaming world. OBS is what I'm using right now to do all this, right? With the overlay at the top and switching cameras and stuff like that. OBS is open source. Full disclosure, I have contributed money to the OBS project. Okay? To support them. Like, hey, it's free. You can go online, download it. It's awesome. You know, they keep, you know, updating it and everything's working great. And it's fantastic. Streamlabs OBS has come along and taken like Lightstream, which is I think another product that you can go and buy, which is used for streaming games from like Xbox and PlayStation. Okay, I think it's Lightstream. Something I'm not familiar with. But Streamlabs started this company and said, hey, we'll just take OBS, which is an open source project, and we'll just put Streamlabs OBS on it. We'll put fancy color around it, and we'll call it Streamlabs OBS. And oh, by the way, we're going to charge you a subscription fee to use it. Actually, I think you can download it for free, but then we'll put in mods and then you charge us and we'll call it ours. And that's ours. That's our product. Yay. And then this Lightstream thing, we're going to call it, we're going to call ours Streamlabs Stream. Streamlabs Lightstream, right? And then they just copy the same and then they bring it over. It got so bad that there were parts of like the product write-up for Lightstream on their website and they literally just chunk and posted it on their own, changed a couple words, but it was like side by side, it was like, what? They're the exact same thing. They had a huge amount of fallout online. Like people were like, man, Streamlabs, you need to get your shit together. And then they issued an apology. You know, they're like, that's not good enough. OBS actually wrote in a tweet, they stated, we wrote Streamlabs and asked them not to use OBS in the name of their product. They refused. They kept going. OBS let it go. Like they didn't want to get into some probably legal bullshit and pay a bunch of lawyers so that they would stop using the OBS name, the OBS words, letters. But they put it out there and said, hey, we tried to stop them. They wouldn't do it. That's the way they roll. It's kind of like, hey, there's Doom, there's chase mechanics, there's cherries, you know, from Gumshoe. There's the Gumshoe components that work, you know, you get a clue, you spend points, like stress, right? There's milestones, right? It says Cortex Prime, milestones. Yeah, and I'm pointing to the screen. Can't you guys see that? Right? These things. Where did these things come from? So, hey, I got an idea. I'm going to create my own role-playing game called Sean RPG, man. And I'm going to put all this shit in there, and I'm going to frickin' put out a license and say, hey, if you're going to create a game and you're going to use any of this stuff, well, you got to pay me. You can't use it. I don't know, man. Cannot use UK. You can use these. These is what they're saying. You can use these. Okay, I got them backwards. So you can use these. Well, and that's why they can use them, is because they're mechanics that are like, you can get anywhere. When using these items, references can be made to the Cortex Prime game handbook, either with a page number and or link with the appropriate header in the digital available at, it says can be. Notice it says can be. When you start reading shit like this, things become very calculated, and this is not something that Melissa came up with. This is not Melissa. Like, this is fandom, and a bunch of people reviewed this shit before it ever got posted. So when they say, when using these items, references can be made to the Cortex system, that's their way of saying, please say that you got these from us. You don't need to. You cannot use visual assets or artwork. That's a no-brainer. That should be very, very obvious. And direct copies of text. Okay. Everyone is showing shit. In regards to the 3 settings from the Cortex Prime Handbook, you can create session modules, session mods, custom content. Like, stay away from anything that has a proper noun to it, you know, amongst other things. I am not a lawyer. Do not take my legal advice to be something that's going to hold up in any courtroom. It's just something that you need to be aware of. But it says you may not produce existing details from those settings in your product, but can use page number references, blah, blah, blah. It's completely acceptable, right? Completely acceptable. What visual assets can I use in my project? You got some community content that you can probably use. Cortex symbols, right? Okay, got it. Sure. There, Tales of Xadia. That's the one I was looking for. Can I create supplemental content for licensed Cortex Prime games, such as Tales of Xadia or Legends of Grayskull? No. Licensed Cortex Prime games are not included as part of this community license. Certainly understandable. Again, understandable. Can I offer my content on a platform such as Drive-Thru? No. Cortex is not affiliated with any RPG marketplace such as Drive-Thru and the Cortex Creator Studio. And see, this is one of those things like, hey, you can do this stuff, but whenever there's a money thing involved, it's like, whoa, breaks, timeout. That's why you got to be aware of this stuff especially if you're going to sell it, right? A lot of things you can do and use if you're not going to sell it, as long as it's not like, you know, Star Wars. There was Star Wars World. The guy was building Star Wars World. It was based on Powered by the Apocalypse. Never going to be able to launch it. Called Star Wars World, right? Scum and Villainy. Where do you think that's from? Come on now, right? Scum and Villainy. It's not Star Wars. You know, that's the thing. You got to stay away from the stuff that, like, we're not knuckleheads. Completely. We know the deal. Scum and Villainy? Come on. What's that associated with? Call it a lightsaber. You put a lightsaber in that book, freaking some problems. Put in some, like, laser sword? Well, it's a laser sword. Laser swords were probably out even before Star Wars. But RPG Marketplace. Hey, I want to get my shit on RPG. Drive-Thru. Strip out all this shit, then put it up there. Scum and Villainy from the universe of Sun Battle. Oh, man. Supplements are how you run a better game, but supplements are the tofu of the RPG world. Watch your mouth, AWOL. Harsh, I like tofu. Yeah, let's rise up to tofu. Let's get 'em. 40K is a great example of this nonsense. Oh, God. Marines. Right? What are they called? Space Marines. Can't call them Space Marines. That bullshit. I'm going to call everything Space Marine. Space Marine. Today we're talking about Space Marines. Yeah. They're I don't know, man. They had a stellar year. I still don't get it, but okay. Because I imagine Games Workshop is combing Thingamajig or Thing Maker or whatever and making sure there's no models out there that can be played in their games. Because if there is, they're in a lot of trouble. I'll call your Space Marines or else. Codex Blue. All right. Where can I host my content I make with this community license? Well, we could recommend sharing your project through a downloadable link like Google Drive or Dropbox, because nothing says professional like dropping your shit in Google Drive for commercial use. That is completely asinine. You can actually sell digital products even on Teespring. You could sell it on Shopify. I think they offer digital products as well. Come on. You can also share links through social media platforms, including Cortex, Reddit, or official. No. Now that's community license, right? We're not talking about commercial. Here's the commercial one. Does publishing content using this license impact my future options for publishing in the Cortex Creator Studio? See, they're going to want you to put their shit in their version of DM's Guild or securing a commercial license, which is kind of the deal, right? If you want to do stuff for D&D, you got to put in the DM's Guild. Like, I think there's terms in that where it's like, hey, man, you can't like do a DM's D&D thing using our creative stuff that we allow you to use and then put it somewhere else. See you later, Laramie. Yeah. Eric says Gumroad, Shopify, Teespring, Square, Etsy. Yeah, you can all put digital stuff up there. Man, why would you not, like, okay, I need something that looks like, I don't know, little figures, print them all out, and then play your own Warhammer game. Just buy the rule book, and then you don't have to buy any of the miniatures. You can print out as many as you goddamn want, as many of the mods as you want, paint them the way you want. I mean, you can paint them any way you want anyway, even if you buy them, but you know what I'm getting at. All the sprues and all that stuff. Man, imagine being a miniature company and everybody's printing similar miniatures. Dwarven Forge, man. Stefan, man, you're a good guy, but why wouldn't I just go and print my own shit? Or I could just go and I should just buy like 5 3D printers, put my shit on Etsy, making RPG stuff and going, hey, you want the RPG stuff? You come to me, and I just crank out freaking printers all day. Can I crowdfund my Cortex Prime product using this license? No, right? Because that's money, man. No. Sorry. That's a big one. Can I crowdfund my Cortex Prime product using this license? Pinnacle? Yes. Free League? Yes. Free League, you can use Year Zero engine and kickstart your own shit. Temples and Tombs. Did it. I'm telling you, man. What should I expect from the commercial license agreement? Allows creators to craft their own full game using Cortex Prime. Yeah, that's what you get. With more lenient restrictions than the community license and the ability to sell your product and generate revenue. Oh, so you do get to sell it and generate revenue. If you would like to apply for a commercial license, you can reach out through this form. Pinnacle, same thing, Savage Worlds. Shane's like, yeah, man, go ahead. Kickstart your own shit. I don't care. And the thing is with Pinnacle is they don't even have their own store. Well, they have their own store. Correction. They do have their own store. I don't know. Like, I don't think they'll make you create your own Pinnacle Savage Worlds and say, well, you need to offer it in our store. I don't know. I have to double check. I think it's only common courtesy if you're going to hey, it's Savage Worlds based on the Savage Worlds RPG, based on the Cortex RPG. Like if you're doing that, you got to get some permission. You got to get some, hey, I'm going to do this. Is that all right? And if it's not, like I reached out, they said it was okay, great. And frankly, even if you reach out and they say it's okay, you might want it in writing anyway. So that's where this license stuff comes in. Yeah, Pinnacle might not. Like Shane may just be, man, that's cool, go for it, right? Which is kind of risky to them, right? If I put out some like Book of Vile Darkness using Savage Worlds, you know, but I'm guessing Shane has verbiage like, yep, you can, but you have to like, based on Savage Worlds game, blah, and point to our license, or, you know, it's a based on or something where it's not a Pinnacle product. You know, because that way then Pinnacle can go, hey man, I don't know about anything about that crazy Sean guy making Book of Vile Darkness Savage Worlds. I don't know anything about that. Yeah, go talk to him. It's all about ownership and property and money. And you know, rightfully so, right? Phantom bought Cortex, bailed them out. They want some money. Oh, here's all the details. Should we go through it? It's also polite to be cooperative part of the design community, absolutely. But you know, there's gonna be people like, I'm gonna work with insert whoever. You know, they're just easier to work with. But this is, you know, also like when it's all about the money piece. Like when I think we talk about, you know, I want to build Cortex thing and I don't care if I sell it or not. I just want people to enjoy it and put it out there. Then I think your risk is pretty low. Like nobody's going to give you know, they're not going to get on all over your stuff if you're not selling it. Try to sell it. It's a different ball game. But here's the license. User restrictions. I mean, I just wonder, because it's such, the reason I point this out, and I've got to read this, but there's such a weird, there's a component of the rule piece, because Cortex itself is not like the Star Wars game from Fantasy Flight. Like the mechanics and the game and the setting and all that is all together in one book. And even the L5R stuff that is based on the narrative dice system, Genesis, exists because Lucas can't sue him because it's Genesis. It's different dice, and it's different. The dice are different. The symbols are different. But it's still the same mechanics. You roll, the class has certain abilities. You make your die pool fancy dice. You roll them, and then you read the tea leaves. Same resolution. I mean, that is like a perfect example of some of the details we're working out here. But the thing is that Fantasy Flight has the license of Star Wars and created that game with the narrative dice, and created Genesis. So it's not like Sean went and created Genesis. I mean, could I have beaten them to the punch? I don't know. I'm sure Fantasy Flight and Asmodee would have some words for me. The Aces Club, where creators can bounce ideas off each other or find artists, etc. Plus, they come together to make sure they don't. Funny thing is, Phantom is big, but Cortex Prime is on par with PBTA and Fate Core in size. I think they are just trying to squeeze all they can out of that raisin. Yeah. Hey, Murder Hobo. I'm late to the party, but what proprietary mechanics does Cortex have? Well, that's the question, man. I got to read that book. It's driving me nuts because right now I'm all just speculation and hyperbole and, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which is not the way I like to roll. But hey, come on. We're sitting on YouTube. What else are you going to do? That's the question. That's the $1 million question. Because, like I said, this is where I'm going is you got Genesis and Star Wars. And then you got Genesis, the role-playing game. I don't even know what the license is for Genesis. Can you make your own shit? I don't even know if there is a community license or a commercial license for Genesis. GURPS. Some of these guys, I don't know if they got a pot. I don't know. I don't know how they get away with some of this. I think there's a nicety in the sandbox, right? Like, hey, I'm going to go ask John Wick if I can use his Houses of the Blooded in Cold Shadows. John says, yeah, sure. No, I don't give a shit. And of course, out of courtesy, Gallant Knight Games puts that in the game. Hey, this system is based off Houses of the Blooded by John Wick. Want to buy that? Go here, buy his shit. Thank you, John. Right? But John, I doubt, is getting any kickback from that game. Plus, it's not selling 1 million copies. It's not a big deal. And it's certainly not owned by a huge conglomerate. Right? Gallant Knight Games has put out some good stuff, but they're not Fandom. They're not Asmodee or WotC, Hasbro. Even Paizo. Even Paizo is kind of small to some of these guys. Right? Comparatively speaking, it's funny. Paizo's smaller company sells more RPGs than Fandom. Gotta do it, right? It's gotta be the case. But when you're talking about Cortex, it's a rule system, like PIP system. I know they have a community license, right? Third Eye Games. Oh, man. First Hit should be their website, man. Where are you guys? I think it's Third Eye Games instead of PIP system. PIP's, that's a problem that Alloy should look at. Third Eye Games. Oh, my God. Come on, dude. Your SEO is like, here we go. All right, there we go. AMP, Apocalypse Prevention, Todd Crapper's on these guys' team, Part-Time Gods. So I know they have, I don't know if it's listed on here. I doubt it. Come on. Ugh. I'm going to give them some slack because they said their site's under construction. But, Alloy and the gang have to, I know they've got a community license. But their approach, I'm going to guess, only speculating here, but I'm going to guess it's not the same. Like Pinnacle and Savage Worlds, PIP System and Third Eye Games, Fate, right, and Evil Hat, their take, I think, on licensing is quite a bit different than what Cortex trying to put out here. I'd be interested to compare them all. I have a table. Can you sell them somewhere? Click yes. No, you can't. Can I kickstart? Yes. No, or yes with permission. Caveat, whatever. But I agree that, Victor's right. How are they selling this thing? They advertise D&D Beyond on Honest Trailers, which they own. Fandom, what does Fandom own? They are Fandom. Wikis. Oh, God. Yeah. Hey, well, I need a ad blocker for sure. Keep in mind I'm on a Mac. Popular wikis. News. I mean, it's a lot of content, right? Popular wiki. It's like a big, they used to just be wiki pages, I think. Get a shit. Here we go. Explore properties. Here we go. Way at the bottom. Fandom, D&D Beyond, Cortex RPG, Mutthead, Futhead, Fanatical. That's it? No. Plus other websites, right? There's D&D Beyond logo. Wikis. How many wikis do they have? Create, connect, discover. Look at that. 385,000 communities, 50 million pages plus. We could start a wiki. Wow. It's so ironic to me. The irony is not lost on me, where you're like, hey, hold on a second. Hey, we got this license here for Cortex. Got some restrictions. Got some wikis, though, that have a lot of other stuff on them, like other people's property. Right? But is it, do they get out of it by like, well, this isn't ours. They're just using the wiki technology. Therefore, we can't get into trouble for Lady Gaga's fandom page? Like, is this under the DMCA? Like, a website can't get in trouble for things that people post on it? Right? That's like Twitter, right? Facebook. You can't sue them for things that people put on the platform. Right? That's in the DMCA. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer. Again, put that disclaimer. I should just keep flashing that at the bottom of the screen. It should be my lower third. Sean is not an attorney. But isn't this kind of, oh, okay, so you can't use our property and IP in your stuff if you're going to sell it, but we're going to use all the stuff for wiki on Lady Gaga, and does she get any money for this stuff? I don't know. And then there's all this other, I don't know, maybe it's just a page. Looks like just a page. Right? Lady Gaga, Gagapedia, right? I don't know, man. This is just weird to me. Does anybody else find it strange? Like, somewhere there's a business model in this. It's got to be just all advertising, right? Welcome to the wiki. Gameplay, synopsis, promotional images. Like, if anybody likes their IP, it's Disney. Holy balls. Right? Yeah, it's just like Wikipedia, but with media. Whoa, hey-oh, a poet. Irony's not lost on me. That's good, Victor. Anyways, I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. Cortex RPG. If you're not looking to run Cortex, I mean, if you're looking to run it, great. Like, let's not sell the game short or the system itself, right? If you enjoy Cortex, great, awesome. If you're wanting a design for it, something you got to be aware of and know what the limitations are. I don't think we don't have a ton of designers in our community necessarily, but it's an interesting conundrum because of the rules thing, and to me it's a very rule centric kind of. I don't even know if it's a game. Like, I guess it's a game, But I don't think you can buy Cortex and go, okay, let's play this game, right? You got to kind of put your stuff together and, hey, this is we're going to use Doom, and we're going to use this, we're going to use that, which, fandom said, hey, you can use those. That's not a problem. In other breaking news, I have the latest Root RPG, free RPG day book waiting in my P.O. box. You lucky. I do not know much about Root, but I've heard of it. Just don't know much about it. But anyways, that's some of the stuff I wanted to go over this week, and I was kind of like, well, we could talk about it. I don't know what this really means, but it's something to be aware of. And if you haven't heard about it, then great, now you have. So there you go. If you haven't checked out, if you're a Notion user, if you like Notion and you're trying to kind of get your head wrapped around Notion and using it maybe for note taking and session prep and things of that nature, I did complete. It's a lengthy video. I did try to chapter it out here on the channel. Check it out. It's how to set up a database essentially, and then using those entries out of the database, how to tag and backlink, right, which is automatic. Kind of show you how it's used. And I tried to fast forward through some of the clicking and the board, how do I click this? Okay. It would take a long time, but thank you, Zui, for checking it out. And again, it's not for everybody, but it'll help you if you want to use it for note taking, and it's different than OneNote. And I could have probably shortened it up a little bit. But anyways, so I am going to go to my weekend, and I hope you guys do too. Hope you have some gaming planned or prep or something. I got some books to read. I got 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I got Twilight 2000. I've got to prep for my Forbidden Lands game. I got a lot of stuff to do. Just a matter of, what am I going to, I don't know. I'm going to pick this up. I read Cortex. Timestamp sounds good to know. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is it's a longer video, and I could have probably broken it down. But once you get to one page set up, the rest is pretty straightforward. Has anyone pointed out that your sign's first line says, be a piece of shit? Got the dash, man. The dash. Positive. Don't be a POS. Be a positive force in tabletop RPGs. Murder hobo. Started migrating back to Evernote. Come on. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you've seen any value, even if it's this much, this was free, right? It's free to you. Give me a like. Just do it for the hell of it, right? Something to do. Give me a dislike. I don't know. No, don't give me a dislike. Yeah, whatever. I have to remind you, because if I don't remind you, you might not do it. And it actually has an impact here on YouTube. Unlike a review on Apple, doesn't do anything for your podcast. So thank you very much. Hey, Joe, I'm about to wrap things up. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you aren't a member of our Discord, I say our Discord because How to RPG, I'm part of Gaming MBS. So head over to gamingmbs.com/Discord, join the Discord. There's good discussion over there. And BSRCon's coming up in January. So some of the plugs. But otherwise, have a great rest of your weekend as I record this. And again, be a positive force in the tabletop RPG hobby. And we'll see you next week.